I call Alfred Naro.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I rise to take a call on the Prime Minister's statement in the House. But before I do so, Mr. Speaker, I've only just returned back to the House this evening and sort of heard the news that Mr. Twyford's mother had passed away. And so, though we may be opposition in the House and candidates and contenders in our communities, the fact is that we are still people. And so I do want to acknowledge the passing away of Mr. Phil Twyford's mother and give my condolences to him and his family and his whānau as well at this time. Mr. Speaker, I was away from the House because I was at the orientation week at Auckland University, and I was there yesterday. I know that I saw Mr. Cunliffe hiding under an umbrella heading to the stall, and I saw Mr. Clayton Mitchell. He was there as well. He was on the other side. He didn't quite have his three-piece suit on, but he had the suit and tie, and he was out there talking to the students at Auckland Uni, and one of my sons is actually there at Auckland Uni, Mr. Speaker. It was quite interesting today and having these conversations with a lot of the students there and talking about what the government's doing, and they wanted to know, what's the direction of where the government's going. But I had one student come up to me, and I could see that by his body language, he was looking like he was coming for a fight. And so he came there and he stood at a distance and he said, "Oh yeah, National Party, eh? National government." And I said, "Yep, that's right." And then he said, "Yeah, well, what are you doing? What are you doing for our people?" So he spent the next 3 minutes telling me about all the things that we're not doing. Caring for the poor, not doing enough for Māori, not doing enough for Pacific, and he just went on and on and on. So I said, "Oh, that's great." And I said, "Well, why don't I start by just introducing myself to you?" And then he said, "Oh, so maybe you don't know, where I come from." And I said, "Look, I'm a first generation born here. My parents came from the Pacific." I said, "My mum was a cleaner, my dad was a labourer. I come from a working class family. That's where I come from." And he looked at me and he goes, "Well, and what are you doing in the National Party?" And I said, "Well, because of this. The values that my parents gave me as a working class family was this." And my grandmother as well and others that turned around and said this to me. They said, "We've come here for the same opportunities. We don't want to have anything special than anyone else, but all we ask for is this." And they would say this: "We want the same opportunities as anyone else." And Mr. Speaker, one thing I also told this young man was the fact is that I'm a tradesman. I think I'm one of the few tradesmen that may be in the House here in Parliament of 121 MPs. I'm an electrician by trade. Started off as a Māori Affairs pre-apprentice, went to Dormant Hostel, Mr. Speaker, and I said to him, the fact is that I too come from a trade. He said, "I was a painter before I came here to Auckland University, and now I'm doing law." So I said to them, "So here's the thing, right? So in my background, I said, I don't have political science, but the thing that I like about where this government is going, and when I'm talking about our Prime Minister, there's this, is that we basically don't talk about stuff all the time. We get on and do the job that needs to be done." I said, "You're a painter. You sit here. If you can look at a building over days and days, and you can talk about it till the cows come home, Mr. Speaker, all right, it won't go anywhere. In other words, you've got to say, here's a job, it needs to be done, and fix it and make it happen." And that's the pragmatism of this government. So he said to me, "Give me some examples. So let's talk about this." He talked about, what are you doing for Māori? So let's talk about this. I said, in 9 years of a Labour government, okay, how many treaty claims were completed? I asked him, and he said, "I don't know." Well, you can count them just on 2 hands. It's called 6, right? So in 6 to 7 years of a national government, Pene Henare will know what it is. It's 43. So what is it? We can talk all the days that we can, but we just get on and do the business that needs to be done. He said to me, "What about housing? What are we doing for housing in our communities?" And he said, "What are we doing for housing in our communities?" So I said to him this. He said, "Labour's doing a lot more." And I said, "In 9 years, how many houses do you know that they actually retrofitted to make warm and dry?" And he said, "I don't know." 2,000 a year, 18,000 over 9 years. I said, "Do you want to know what we've done?" I tell you this, over 40,000 Housing New Zealand homes. Under the retrofit Warm Up New Zealand, over 300,000. If we do the Residential Tenancies Amendment Bill of 180,000, okay, by 2019, that will come to 500,000. I said to this young man, what I stand for, I don't have a political science degree. I'm a tradesman by heart. I come in here to do things that make a difference for our communities, for young people like you and your family. In other words, we just get on with the business. But I said, I tell you what, don't just take what I say for granted. How about you let the facts speak for themselves? That's the evidence. Mr. Speaker, I commend the Prime Minister's speech because it's pragmatic, it's practical, it gets on with doing the business, the things that Kiwi respect and have voted for in the last 2 elections. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.